As companies and managers attempt to try to get people to come back to work, they are trying some new methods to entice employees to come back. We're going to take a look at some of the weird and some of the crazy ones, and also some employee pushback on the next Today in Tech. Hi, everybody. I'm Keith Shaw. Welcome to Today in Tech. On today's episode, we're going to talk about going back to work and some hybrid work environments and some of the ripples and after effects and some technologies that are causing some people to do some very strange things, and also office culture, things like that. So we're going to bring in our guy behind the computer, Chris. Hello, Chris. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
We are recording this on Valentine's Day, so I'm just going to do this, little heart thing for you. I don't even know if it did it right. Is that right?
I guess.
Yeah, I know. Right here, man. All right. Respect. So the Wall Street Journal today or yesterday had a story about whether or not people that are coming back to work are fun enough. Like, there's this whole idea that in order to get people to come back into the workplace, whether they were completely remote or not, whether or not they're fun enough. And so, yeah, I love this image because this immediately makes me think of Office Space. Do you remember that movie, Chris?
I remember that movie. I can't say I watched the whole thing, but I've seen all the memes about it and stuff like that. Like, I know about it.
Yeah. And so, for people of my generation, I think Office Space it came out around the time of the .com era. So you may have been a little too young for that because you probably hadn't been working yet. But then, shows like The Office, obviously workplace comedy, things like that. They make fun of the office culture. And, a lot of that is, hey, here's your piece of birthday cake to celebrate someone's birthday. And so I love this image. So, but the actual story itself is talking about how as people are coming back to work, they're thinking about mandatory fun type things to get people engaged. So it's not just, the story goes, in the hybrid era when bosses feel compelled to make up for the reduction of daily chit chat. So because you get a lot of hybrid workers, you're not getting that whole office cooler experience that you used to have when you had a full office of workers, and or the office kitchen, or going out to lunch as a group and all that stuff. So they're like, all right, well, what can we do to sort of do this? So you start seeing things like offsites and team building experiences. There's a story from last February that talked about the offsite is the new return to the office. Do you want to bring that one up too?
Sure. Let me find it.
So there's just this is now. This was, as people were coming back, like, all right, well, we'll get people back in the office by doing an offsite. So you don't actually have to come back into the office, but rather, we're going to have a full day of togetherness. And that usually means, team building things, and you can go-kart tracking, you can go bowling, you can go hiking. So the story itself in the Journal this week, it was basically talking about all the different ways that people are forcing to have fun at work. And of course, I'm a guy that I'll roll my eyes at anything. So my first instinct was to roll my eyes and go, they don't call it work because it's fun.
Right.
Fun. I mean, you can have fun at work, but you never say to your spouse or your significant other, like, hey, I'm going to fun today.
Right.
You're like, no, it's Monday. I've got to go to work. And people understand that. So, and I don't know if it's a generational thing either. I mean, you are one generation behind me, Chris. And, then there's Gen Z, and it feels like this is we want everybody to have fun in every aspect of their life.
Yeah. It seems to me like they're just trying to come up with a reason to have people come back. Like, oh, the only way people are going to come back to the office is if it's fun. It's like, well, I don't think it's necessarily about having fun. I mean, my job is enjoyable, right? But it's like,
it feels like it would be better if it was more interesting to actually create a job that people enjoy doing or people enjoy having, instead of making it like, oh, well, you can come into work and do your 7 or 8 hours, but now you've got to now have fun with these people and again, we've got great coworkers here. Obviously we're in the right spot. It's you and me, right, Chris? And a couple of others. And we have a lot of fun, but there is that time where it's like, all right, the Christmas party or the birthday party, and you're eating a piece of cake, and you're like, oh, I really have to socialize with these people.
I think they're kind of missing the mark a little bit. I think it's not so much about fun, but more about just meeting people in person, like social interaction. Like, if someone's going to tell me, oh, it's for fun. Hold on, let me go back to that article just so I can reference it. Is this one it? Yeah, this one's it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's mostly about just like being in person. I find it to be like it's their reason behind getting people together, like to have fun. It's like, nah, maybe not so much,
Yeah, I think this article was triggered by a court case in France where it was a consultant who sued his former firm claiming he was wrongfully terminated for refusing to take part in different, coworker activities. And he won, but it took a lot of years of appeals in order to do that.
Wait, run that again?
All right. He was terminated, and he claimed that he was wrongfully terminated for refusing to take part in, quote, various boozy shenanigans with coworkers. And he won, but it took 7 years and a couple of appeals to defend the right not to be fun at work.
Huh.
Now, so that this also reminds me of I used to have a coworker, and he was kind of a grump. But that's what you want sometimes in an editor. You want a grumpy editor. But
they're not doing their job if they're not grumpy.
Right. And so, a bunch of coworkers then mockingly decided that they were going to call him the vice president of fun. And so they were now they never actually made him come up with group outings or things like that. But, there was sort of this movement and this was usually generated by some HR people who decided, well, we want to have corporate gatherings. So you ended up with picnics and, there's a Christmas party. And I always felt like, anything that's organized is always then becomes not much fun. Like I would rather have informal things where you grab a couple people and you say, hey, let's go out and get some drinks after work, or hey, let's go. We'll have a softball team, but we'll then mainly it's just a drink and play softball, and nothing in a formal league or anything like that. And I think if you hear the word organized, then or mandatory. I mean, obviously mandatory is off the table, but I think anything that you do at work should be up to your choice. And I think, again, as I get older, I've got family commitments, and this was probably in my 20s and 30s. I was like, yeah, I'll do that because I've got no life when I go home. But then I got married and I had kids, and now it's like, well, I want to spend time with them. Like that's.
Yeah, it's like maybe I can't go hang out with everybody at the bar after work.
Right, but then the pressure to do that. So I'm sort of on the outside now, where I don't want to join I want to be a part of the group and collaborate, but I'd rather do that while I'm at work. Like, so just have a group lunch, and then we could talk and socialize at lunch. But like the whole after work, it's like, it's sort of my time after work.
Yeah. There used to be a word for this, or like a phrase. It's kind of like, like team building.
Yes.
Like a company would look at this as basically team building.
Team building has gotten sort of a bad word, connotation, because you think because most of these team building activities, you imagine them, you've seen this in TV and movies where like you grab everybody, you take them outside, and you do either a ropes course or those trust falls. And of course, in the movies and TV, it's always like, well, someone always forgets to catch the person who's falling backwards, and hilarity ensues. And,
I see.
And so you're not really doing any team building, or I don't know of a good way to build a team, but that's probably why I'm not a manager either. I mean, I'm not, other than maybe just like get them all drunk and make sure that they don't sexually harass anybody, I guess, is also that's probably why these types of gatherings are probably, it's easier to have them all try to solve a puzzle with Legos, because that you're not going to get sued, right?
Yeah. Here's a question for you, and it's kind of I don't know, it's a lightweight question, but it's like, is it easier to build a better team in person or through Zoom?
Yeah, I'm probably on the side of in person. So
Yeah.
But again, it should be the goal of finding a better way to become more productive, and and almost sit in a meeting and figure out how you're going to do that than just try to do like a team building activity. I'd rather have an all day meeting. Oh, look, I've been in some companies where all day meetings end up just these people just griping about their problems, and then they don't actually solve solutions. They just want to hear themselves gripe. That's an issue too sometimes. Again, not this company. These are other companies I've worked for.
Correct. Yeah, and I mean, like at this point, like I'd rather just see like just more in-person things.
Right.
Like, I mean, just to be in person is team building enough.
Yeah, I mean, we do most of our team building between you and I just where we sit next to each other,
right,
and we just yell out an idea, and then you go, "Oh, that's a great idea," or "That's a horrible idea."
Yeah,
that's how we do.
Casually throw a shoe. Hey.
When I'm doing all my research, you hit me over the head with a shoe. All right, so we're going to move on to so this is going to get a little weirder now, okay? So you don't have this on your screen because this is just a press release. This is a press release by the American Academy of Facial Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery. And you're probably going, "Hey, Keith, why are you bringing this up on a technology show?" I'm going to tell you why. So they did a survey for all of their surgeons, and this is just the face, okay? So this is not anything below the neck. Okay, Chris. So so we're not talking about liposuction or anything like that. We're just talking about the face. They asked, what was their most popular sort of surgery, and they're trying to measure whether are people having more plastic surgery post pandemic, than before, et cetera, et cetera. So, 2022 saw an increase in demand for facial plastic surgery and cosmetic treatments. Let's see, 58% reported an increase in bookings and treatments over the past year, with more than 75% indicating they've seen a bump of more than 10% in patient demand. Okay, so more people are getting plastic surgery. Okay, so that's established, right?
Wait. And
so now, can you figure out why people are?
I was just gonna. I don't have the article up, obviously.
Right, because I'm hiding it from you, and you also it's
right. You have to
just
be
a press release
signed up to account. Yeah. Yeah. Why? Why again? Did they say why?
They do, and I'm just trying to see if you can guess.
Because I'm just gonna throw this out there. Maybe because everybody was stuck looking in a mirror at home, and they're looking at all the imperfections. They're like, okay, time for a makeover. It's kind of like with your house, right? Because you've been working from home for a couple years, 24/7. You kind of notice small things like, oh, you know what? I could change that. I should change this over here. Yeah, that's not really. Maybe that wall can go down. Maybe that is that why?
Yeah, and
people are just noticing imperfections. They're just like, why not?
That is the most popular reason.
Really?
And so the quote is, as people return to the office and ease back into the routine of daily life without quarantine, interest for elective surgeries and non-invasive tweakments. I hate that word.
Tweakments?
Yeah, that's a made-up word.
Huh.
So in 2022, our members continue to see the impact of the Zoom boom, with 79% of respondents pointing to Zoom effect as a major contributing factor in patients' desire to seek treatment. So I think this is what happened. This is what's happening. Okay, you're on your Zoom call and you're seeing all of your coworkers' friends, but you're also seeing yourself.
Right, but you're also seeing yourself with because I know Zoom has this, and a lot of apps have these, a lot of video related apps. Like how they can smooth out imperfections on your face and stuff like that, like a lot of those effects. So they're probably seeing themselves with that on. They're kind of thinking like, well, what if that was permanent?
Yeah.
What if that was permanent?
Yep.
Or like those Snapchat filters where...
That is another one of the facts.
Exactly. Like they're looking at these filters like, wow, I wish I looked like that, permanently or, in real life.
So
right?
They're saying that Generation Z, the younger people that are into apps like TikTok and Snapchat are seeking treatments aimed to mimic Snapchat filters.
I mean, that's simply put, that's a form of like body dysmorphia.
Right. They're calling it Snapchat dysmorphia.
And, yeah. Snapchat's whatever you want to call it. It's a dysmorphia, right? You're looking at yourself, negative light and trying to find a way to perfect, certain aspects and stuff like that. But yeah, that's sad.
Now, so, obviously you and I, we're I mean, this is gorgeous, and you're awesome.
I'm just
So
ugly.
you don't-
I'm
you don't
just
need
ugly. I'm happy being ugly. I'm totally content.
So you know what? What do you think I'm the most vain about in the years that you've known me?
I have no idea.
Really? Because I mention this all the time.
Is it your beard?
No,
I mean, 'cause,
well, no, I'm no. That's
like-
me super jealous of your beard. No, for me, it's the top of my hair. It's my haircut. Like I need a haircut, and like every time, whenever that camera goes on, I look immediately and I was like, well, how's my hair? And that's about as vain as I get. Like I don't care that I can't grow a beard. I can't connect my mustache to my I'm designed to genetics on that front. But I think the one thing I can generally change is the length and the style of my hair. And again, I grew a mullet in the 90s. This is more of a confessional for me. So, but then I looked like one of the cartoon characters from Peanuts, where the hair comes down and up, and so for me, it's the hair. So I've never thought about, a nose job, or I'm sure that most of the commenters will be like, oh, this is what you should do for your face. And it's like, all right, we're off topic for a second. So the Snapchat thing is causing people to look at it and go, well, if I got to go back to work, if I go back to work, I need to look better as well. So that's another thing. And then the third, one of the second big area was the fact that more people have disposable income now because of the whole,
Right.
they got more money. So
Not traveling as much, saving on gas.
So can you guess what the 3 procedures are the most popular for people that are looking to get more? Just the face.
Okay,
just this area.
Right, plastic surgery for the face. Right.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to say nose job.
That is number 3.
Lips.
Lips were not. They're on the list, but they're not in the top 3.
Okay. Cheekbones. I don't know.
Facelift. Does that count? So facelift is where you just
I'm not a plastic surgeon.
Yeah,
so.
I mean that's where you just sort of stretch your face, right?
Right.
Like that's like,
right.
Yeah. And then the second one, and I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation, blepharoplasty.
No idea.
It's eyelid stuff.
Oh, eyelids.
Or
okay.
so if you've got like multiple things on your eyelids, you want to reduce those.
It is kind of sad. It's kind of sad to see people doing this because the way they look on an app or and trying to.
Okay, so one other thing and then we're gonna get off of this topic.
Yeah, please.
They asked the plastic surgeons about sort of the gender preferences. And so women, obviously, well, not obviously, maybe not obviously. In 16 out of the 18 procedures tracked, surgeons indicate more of their patients are women. Okay, so there are 2 areas. There's one area that skews towards men, and then there's one where it's equal in terms of the gender thing. Do you think you can figure out what procedure is highly skewing towards men? And you might not think of this as a plastic surgery treatment.
And again, this is just face, right?
This is anywhere. Yes,
anywhere.
This is anywhere in the face or anything above the neck. So it could be your head and but not your neck.
That's a tough one. I have no idea.
Okay.
Hold on. Hair?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, that was kind of easy.
Yep, hair transplants. Basically, hair transplants are skewed towards men. Now, the one that's equal is the one that I didn't even realize was a surgery, and it's called otoplasty or autoplasty, surgery to diminish ear prominence. So,
okay,
which you can't tell from me because I'm wearing the headphones. But like, if I don't know if I don't even know if I have big ears or not.
You were born with those on. They're just stuck to your head.
Yes, exactly.
You have it's like this earphone thing.
Yes, this is my real head. Like, I don't take these off at all.
You don't have ears.
I don't. Okay. So now there's a reason why people, I think, so there's going to be there's a thread here. There's going to be a reason why I think people are going to want to look good, because now companies are hiring interns that can make TikTok hits for companies. So there's a story in the New York Times this week. Bring this one up. very, very, attractive young. I'm assuming this is a college intern because I think they interviewed her for the story. And this is Claire's Boutique, and I have 2 teenage daughters, so I'm very familiar with this store. This is where you can get your ears pierced, and there's about 1 billion different fun and quirky earrings that you can buy. And so, basically the reporter here is talking about a trend where companies are not necessarily, they're hiring college interns or having interns basically run their social media accounts. It's not just social media, but like TikTok and things like that.
Yeah. Do these interns have to have a background in like social media management and stuff like that?
Listen, I think that they've grown up with this stuff and they do their own channels and they, I don't.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I say that was because like today, those generations, I mean, like you said, they kind of like grow up with it. They're born into it. And it's like, you kind of don't need a social media degree. You kind of
I don't even think is there a degree program out there for TikTok or for
actually, social media? I think it's in line with communication, like communications media. Social media is like a branch of that.
Marketing.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
Okay.
But like, you can get like a doctorate in social media, which I find, okay. If you want to spend money on that.
It's certainly better than a bachelor's degree in newspaper journalism.
I'd rather have that than
really
whatever social media degree, whatever, because it's kind of like you just got to use it. You just got to use it and just take time to understand it. That's really all you need to do to learn it.
But I mean, this isn't surprising to me. I mean, I've got 3.
Yeah, this is not surprising at all.
I've got 3 teenagers, and 2 of them are girls, and the oldest one runs the social media, or I don't know if she runs it, but she does a lot with her school's. The marching band, has its own TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Each section of the band has their own TikTok. So then she's got an individual account. She's got what she calls a spam account.
Right.
So she's actually got 2 different Instagram accounts where she puts stuff. I don't even know why she separates them, other than she's like, well, I put my personal stuff on one, but then I put my image one on the other one. So whenever and I don't know, and she's tried to explain this to me, and again, my head starts to glaze over and I start thinking about, random Homer Simpson things when she tells me this, because it goes right over my head. And she's actually told me that she wants to run like the Instagram for this show. And,
right.
I've resisted it for a while. But at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if an intern came in here, and we just said, you know what, why don't you I noticed that you have millions of followers. How can you make this show look cooler or more hip? Now, maybe that's just a disaster waiting to happen, because maybe the appeal is just this and you and the technology. I don't know. Like, what do you think, Chris? Should we do it or not?
Think about what?
Well, I mean, do you think that it's companies that are forcing an issue to try to make themselves look cooler than they might actually be, or is this on the flip side? When you were an intern, you usually probably had the most boring tasks. They didn't really train you. Although when I was working in a newspaper at college intern, they actually had me cover murders and cover things for, so they threw me right into the fire.
For me, I was in film production.
Yeah.
So I was a PA. I got coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I got people's lunches, dinners. I was
that's
I did
what
some
you
cold calling. Like I did the jobs that nobody else.
Yeah,
wanted to do.
that's what you typically think of as.
No, exactly, and that's kind of like your initiation, which is, I don't know. You don't really learn much doing it, but again, it feels more like an initiation than more constructive.
But do you think that this is going to become a career for people down the road?
I mean, it already is. I feel like it already is.
Well, that's true. I mean, if you're going to be an influencer and if you're going to do that or a podcast or things like that, I guess you got to look good. So.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people today, especially coming out of media, I read this somewheres. It's valid and it's true that a lot of people coming out with communications media degrees are a lot of their, like what they want to be is no longer like, oh, I want to be a movie director or, I want to be a producer or writer for film, right? They just want to be an influencer.
Yeah.
And it's easy for someone to do that today. I mean, you got YouTube, you have all the social media sites, right? It's so much more, it's much more attainable today to do that, where a lot of people come out of school and they're like, yeah, I just want to be an influencer. But yeah.
I just, when that makes me think about a lot of these apocalyptic shows that are out there now.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd start thinking about, well, if there was a real apocalypse, the world is not going to need TikTok influencers.
No. I think a lot of people get the interpretation that it's easy.
Right.
Everybody else is doing it. It's easy. I can make hundreds of thousands of dollars on YouTube doing this. And
it's hard work.
It's really hard work. Because here's the thing. It's heavily saturated today.
Mm-hmm.
Like influencers, YouTube, trying to stand out on social media. If everybody else wants to do it, it's extremely challenging.
Right.
So.
And then there's only a small few that break through and get the money.
Right.
But then there's probably, there's thousands and hundreds and thousands of people that don't. And
a lot of people they strive to be like Mr. Beast. Oh, I want to be the next Joe Rogan. Oh, I want to be like...
you keep telling me that I should be the next Joe Rogan.
No.
I just want to be the Keith Shaw, really. That's been my goal my entire life.
Yeah. But I mean, the important thing is, you need to stand out on your own, pave your own path.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other conversation. It's a whole other conversation.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how much corporate world back in the days of social media when Facebook and Twitter started coming out,
mm-hmm.
there was the same conversation that people were having.
Mm-hmm.
Do we set up a social media account for this business? I remember all of the people at Computer World and Network World and all of those brands that were print magazines, and then getting into the online stuff, they were like, well, do we need all of these things? And now it's table stakes. It's like, yeah, of course we have one. Why wouldn't we have one? We have a LinkedIn channel. We have a Twitter channel, and we have audiences that react and talk to us and things like that. But there was discussion at the time. I don't think they've jumped over to Instagram yet, and I'm pretty sure there's not a Computer World TikTok channel. But maybe in another generation or two there will be. Again, as you get to that age where you're following Instagram and TikTok now, as they get into those positions of the IT guy and those departments, they're going to not go back to the traditional sort of method of getting information. They're going to get information the same way they're getting it now. So
yeah, the other thing to think about too, just to chime in real quick, is like platforms come and go.
Right.
Look at MySpace. What was there's Vine.
Tumblr? Is Tumblr still around? No,
I think so. I don't know.
Yahoo.
What's Yahoo?
Well, yeah, they're still around. They're still around.
I know. But shoot, what's that other one? I was gonna say Instagram. Instagram is kind of, in my opinion, dying a little bit. It used to be known as the the app where you share photos, photos, and you build an audience that way. Now it's becoming shorts. It's becoming similar to Snapchat. YouTube has its own shorts platform, YouTube Shorts. And actually, we've experimented with it a little bit, but it's all in the effort to try to stand out and build your audience.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, going back to the article when you were saying, jobs like this are going to exist. And my answer to that is like, yeah, they already do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I'm actually happy for the interns that can actually have an impact on a company if they can get into this, because I'd rather have interns doing that than just giving them the menial stuff. Because that's not what an internship is for. All right, we're gonna move on to our final story. So you've heard of quiet quitting, right? Mm-hmm. You've heard of all of these made up terms for people that are doing it at work. There's a story in Glamour, UK, and they're calling it hush trips, which are basically a sneaky new workplace trend where employees work from holidays and keep it very secret. There's a nice little photo at the top. We don't have to show that. But if you just go to the links page, you'll see the photo of a woman in a bikini with a laptop.
Well,
and so she's got a laptop, so that's why it's on the show. Enjoying her vacation, but technically working. Now, this is different. Okay, I want to point this out. This is different from working while on vacation. Mm-hmm. Okay, so a hush trip is basically going somewhere on a holiday or going to a different location and working and then not telling your boss. So technically, you're still working, but you're just working in an exotic location.
I mean, I mean, let's be honest. It's just someone taking advantage of the fact of working from home, and you don't have someone, looking over your shoulder to make sure you're working.
Okay, so this is what the definition is according to Jill Cotton, a career trends expert at Glassdoor. A hush trip is defined as a catch-all term to describe an employee working remotely in a different location than where their employer thinks they are. The company usually allows flexible work, but here the worker is actively hiding where they are working from and or pretending to be in a location close to work. So this is like me telling you, Chris, tomorrow I'm going to work at home. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly I'm in Florida, but I don't tell you, and then I come back so that I'm back here on Thursday.
Okay.
Now instead of Florida, maybe I just go to Rhode Island.
This just made me think of someone. I can't remember his name or the name of the account, but people who are watching, if I describe this, you're going to know who I'm talking about. The guy who goes out like on a boat or goes in a UFC cage or I don't know, does something, and he posts a green screen behind him and goes on the Zoom call.
Okay.
Have you seen that guy?
No. Is this like a Twitter guy?
Yes, it's hilarious because that's what this is. It's like, okay, taking advantage of the work from home. He's on the Zoom call. Mm-hmm. He punches out his background with a green screen, but he's really in a UFC cage fighting, or he's really in a boat enjoying vacation. You see the water splashing on his face.
I have seen. Yes, I have.
Oh my
seen.
God, that's what made me think of him. This article. I'm like, oh, let me find some samples while you talk.
Yeah, I mean,
if
you're going to do this, if you're going to do this, do it when you don't have a day of Zoom calls, so that you don't have to do this elaborate setup of, getting a green screen, or basically you just turn your camera off and then if it says, say, hey, where are you? And you'd be like, oh, I'm not really feeling good today. I didn't get my makeup on, or I didn't, I've got a cough. I don't know how I would pretend to not be there. But again, do you have an employer that requires that you be on Zoom on camera, that you have your camera on? I don't,
right.
And so, I just think it's this interesting idea of not telling your employer where you are. And, they have an example of some people. Now, again, this is the UK, so I think going to different countries is easier than maybe a US based thing. But I would imagine that you could still, if you could get down to all right, so maybe in Massachusetts, it's instead of working at home, you go to the Cape and then you're on the beach that day, if it's a nice Cape day in the summer.
Right.
And if you're not on a Zoom call, it raises the issue of this flexible work policy that a lot of companies are adopting in the remote work from home. Does work from home mean work from anywhere? Yes or no? I guess that's the first question that employees should be asking their bosses, or that managers should have these discussions. What do you do you think work from home means that you're in a physical location?
Say that again.
I know you weren't paying attention to me there. All right, does work from home mean that you have to be at home, or does work from home mean work from anywhere?
I mean, if we want to be literal, yes, it does mean working from home. I feel like if you're not working from home, then I do feel like you're taking advantage of it.
Okay,
because the corporate world, right? They're looking at home now as your home office,
right?
So I think if you're not working at home, I do think you are kind of taking advantage a little bit. I don't know.
I think
I don't know. I think it's tough. It's tough.
You have this. You have a notebook.
Yeah.
You have a phone. Okay.
I guess. So yeah. I could see that.
There's businesses that have set themselves up to be a remote location. In New England, it's Panera Bread. Right, you go to a Panera, you see people with their laptops, and they're in a coffee shop. They're drinking coffee or eating a snack or something, and they're working while they do it. As long as they're not on a Zoom call, and even some people that are on Zoom calls, they've got the earbuds in and they're just doing their meeting right there.
Right.
It is a nice change of pace to be out, but again, this is right down the street, so I'm technically within my same zone. Now, if I drive 2 hours down to the Cape. And now I'm sitting on a beach, I would feel bad, because I think at that point, if you reveal yourself to be in that other location, even though you're probably still getting your work done.
Here, let me show you this clip. Let me ask you, Keith, if this looks like working from home.
Okay.
This is Frankie La Pena's, sorry if I got your name wrong. This is that influencer guy who does those green screen work from home videos here. Let me just pull this up. You can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Is this working from home?
It's true.
And the result looks like so for those of you listening on the podcast, just audio, it's a guy. He has he's doing this skit where he's running away from like football players with a green screen attached to his back with his laptop in front of him,
Right.
mounted with some poles. And so he's on the Zoom call. He's in the Zoom meeting, but he's really running away from these guys in the field in a suit.
Yeah.
So is he working from home?
Well, obviously that's taken to the extreme,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that's
taken to the
that's
extreme.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure,
but I mean,
sure.
you know, I'm sure that there's another. Oh,
I mean, it's funny. It's a parody.
Yeah.
It's a parody of the working from home, right? Working from anywhere.
and we saw.
I mean,
and
that's
we
really
saw
what
all
it
of-
is. That's
yeah,
really what it is.
We saw all of that during the pandemic. I mean, when everybody was on a Zoom call, I think Saturday Night Live did a skit where then they had the person going into the bathroom and forgetting that the Zoom call was still on and all this other stuff.
Right.
You know,
right.
if you're expending that much energy and work to get out of working, then you have to sort of readdress. And there's a line in that Glamour story that I think it says, if you're feeling the need to lie to your boss, it might be a sign that something's off, either in your professional communications or in the workplace itself. And so again, but I want to bring up another question for you, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Was this the one?
This was the MMA one, but I mean, he doesn't have a green screen behind him, so
Right.
I'd find it hard to zoom in, to quote unquote zoom in a call with no green screen.
Right.
Anyways,
Okay. So, what responsibilities does a company have to use technology to make sure that their remote or hybrid people are working? Like, for example, you and I, our boss knows that we're working because we produce 3 videos a week.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. And if you're a subscriber, hopefully you're watching all 3 videos a week. But that's our proof, is that we've done this. We're doing this. We put it up. But as you said to me as we were going to lunch today, well, what does that mean for the other 2 days? And again, this doesn't take all day either, right? Because I mean, there are.
well, we're brainstorming. We're
Yeah.
talking back and forth, coming up with ideas for shows and stuff like that. I mean, it's a lot of pre-production and development, right? In between. So, but that's different for us.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
If
So now let's talk about, there's a lot of other jobs and people and employees out there that do work from home, and the measure, the key performance indicator, or KPI, as a lot of people tell us in the tech world. You have a way to prove whether or not someone's doing work, and it's on the output. But let's say you can't measure any of that stuff. I mean, is it just that you're attending these meetings and that you're attending a Zoom call and that you're emailing? Some people have, they're tracking mouse movements on the computer. Like, I think Slack, in the Slack tool, you can see whether someone is on or not, right?
Yeah, you get that.
So it's monitoring if someone's on Slack, and I guess that's but I've seen that there's software that will track that, and then there's a line between monitoring just to make sure that people are working, if you can't monitor their output, and then the crossing that line into privacy and invading the privacy of your.
Yeah, what's too much? Right?
Yeah, I think if you start installing software to really track how many minutes someone is on a computer or someone is on their phone or whatever, then you might as well just have them do a punch clock, like come into because I just think there's a lack of trust at that point, and you need to have those discussions with your employees. But on the other hand, there are employees that will take advantage of this situation. So again, maybe those are the outliers too. Like, you've got someone that will install the mouse thing and then they'll be on the beach all day and the little mouse software is clicking. Hey, yeah, I'm at work. Look, my mouse is working.
Right.
So I don't know. I just think that I don't think I would ever get to the point where I would tell you that I'm not somewhere where I am. Like, even if I go down to the Panera, I'll probably say, hey, I'm going to be working at the Panera, or I usually tell you when I'm going to be away for a long gap. Although I do have Slack on my phone, but I don't have my email on the phone yet. Like, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Right.
Because I'm old and I'm yelling at a cloud. Any final thoughts, Chris?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right. So, I mean, I still think that the balance is swinging back towards the employers, but this is a little sort of like, maybe back to the employees just for a little bit. So that's where we are at in February. And again, happy Valentine's Day, dude.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all the time we've got for today's episode. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and add any comments that you have below. Tell us what you think about whether or not this is too intrusive, tracking your employees like that. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.